This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to the South Today. I'm Daryl Baser. With the nation being placed in lockdown, we're again operating as an essential media service on a skeleton crew and are bringing you a slightly shorter news bulletin while we're at Level 4 lockdown. With New Zealand in the second day of a Level 4 lockdown due to multiple people being infected with COVID-19, the government has confirmed some people's worst fears. The Prime Minister and Director General of Health announcing a significant increase in the number of people with the virus. At today's media briefing, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern told the nation the Auckland outbreak is linked to Australia and the cases are the more infectious Delta strain.
Our current positive cases are a close match to a recent returnee from Sydney who arrived on a managed red zone flight on August 7th, had a day 1 test on the 8th, returning a positive result on the 9th.
The Prime Minister says we can now be fairly certain we know how the virus entered New Zealand, while Director General of Health Ashley Bloomfield says the number of people infected in the Auckland cluster has doubled.
So today I can report there are 11 new positive cases of COVID-19 in the community. That is since yesterday's 1 p.m. update, taking our total number of community cases all in Auckland to 21. All of these cases here in the community are being transferred safely to the Auckland quarantine facility or are already there under the usual strict infection prevention and control procedures.
Dr Bloomfield says the number of cases is likely to grow even further because of the large number of areas of interest. Vaccination sites are reopening across the country, with people being able to book online or over the phone.
A phased approach to reopening vaccination sites with the Level 4 protocols in place has now begun. This enables everyone to stay safe while we vaccinate. So please, if you have a booking and you have not had any other communication from your provider, please still go because we're expecting you.
Jacinda Ardern says essential workers who interact with the public are the next group in line for vaccinations, including supermarket workers who may not have been eligible due to their age. Like with other centres around the country, Dunedin streets are mostly empty. In Dunedin, the South Today. A parent's worst nightmare came to a happy ending after a 3-year-old boy went missing from a Dunedin household, with footprints found leading to the beach. There was a huge response from emergency services after the boy was reported missing from a Brighton Road address. Dunedin police say the boy disappeared from his parents' house and footprints were found heading towards the beach next door. The boy was eventually found next to Brighton Road by members of the public who waved down police to alert them to the happy ending. And still to come on the South Today, just before lockdown, motor racing returned to the south, and we have a Global Insight special on Afghanistan. See you after the break.
Hi, it's Lindsay here from Alex Campbell Menswear. We have a massive manufacturer's clearance plus. There's liquidated stock from our suppliers. For example, we have cotton casual trousers from 1990, dress trousers from 1990, merino zip pullovers, fashion shirts, warm winter shirts, jackets. There's a great deal on overcoats, blazers and suits. Come and check out our jeans. We're known for our jean selection.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Come in and see the massive manufacturer's clearance at Alex Campbell Menswear.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole Map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Be sure to tune into Football Chat every week, where we chat about local football fixtures, results and everything else that's happening in the local game.
TV, our favourite babysitter, but it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
No mai anō, welcome back. Two motor racing events were held in South Otago in the weekend before the country went into lockdown. Rally drivers took on courses set out by the Eastern Southland Car Club and the South Otago Car Club. Rally cars sped around Eastern Southland and South Otago in the weekend before the country was placed into Level 4 COVID-19 lockdown. The two rally sprint events, replacing the cancelled Catlins Rally, traditionally run at this time. South Otago Car Club President Dean McCrosty says the weekend went well for most drivers.
Awesome. The road's great. We were a bit nervous of the level of gravel on it, but it's swept up. Competitors are having a ball. Unfortunately, the car I was in, we broke down, but hey, it's good.
4 times Catlins Rally winner Andrew Graves of Gore spent time in the co-driver's seat of his Mitsubishi Evo 3, letting his son Hayden race in the South Otago Car Club's Catlins Inn Rally Sprint on Sunday. The gravity of the occasion wasn't lost on 18-year-old Hayden.
Today is a big day. Definitely get to first time in the driver's seat with Dad's Evo. It's been a big day, something new, something learning. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Getting faster and faster all day, confidence has been boosted, and yeah, really enjoyed it.
Hayden Graves says he thought his dad was ready to be in the co-driver's seat and seemed to enjoy himself.
I think he's enjoying it. I hope he's enjoying it.
Yep, no problem.
There's been some moments, but I'm just learning from that. So it's first time in the car, so learning, yeah.
South Otago Car Club President Dean McCrosty says Sunday's rally sprint was an absolutely awesome event. In South Otago, the South Today. In this edition of Global Insight, Professor Robert Patman tells Bruce Munro the resurgence of Taliban fighters in Afghanistan shows New Zealand cannot depend on the United States the way it has in the past.
Welcome, I'm Bruce Munro, and with me via Zoom is International Relations Specialist Professor Robert Patman, and this is Global Insight. The United States, along with its allies, including New Zealand, has spent 20 years and $1 trillion trying to stabilise Afghanistan. It took just 10 days for the country to return to Taliban control. Welcome, Robert.
Right, Bruce.
We've seen distressing scenes from what's happening in Afghanistan, and we're hearing conflicting reports of what the future of the country will be. Why have decades of occupation apparently failed so completely?
Well, that's a good question. Despite the sudden recapture of Afghanistan, this process was about 18 years in the making. It didn't come out of a clear blue sky. And I think you have to look across about 3 administrations before Joe Biden to get to the roots of the problem. The crucial turning point, in my view, Bruce, was the Bush administration's decision to expand what it called the War of Terror beyond Afghanistan. It should be recalled for our viewers that immediately after 9/11, the United States got UN authorization, the UN Security Council authorization, to launch a military operation into Afghanistan to root out al-Qaeda training camps, and also to remove the Taliban government who refused to hand over Osama bin Laden and the al-Qaeda leaders. But that process went reasonably well. But the turning point occurred when the Bush administration decided to expand its war on terror, as it called it, beyond Afghanistan into Iraq. It was a unilateral military operation in Iraq without the authorization of the UN. And as we know, the operation in Iraq didn't go according to plan. But more damagingly, because the United States became so preoccupied with its war in Iraq, it was actually an invasion, then an occupation, that meant that troops were directly transferred from Afghanistan to Iraq. It also meant the United States became, as I said before, very preoccupied with the situation in Iraq, and that gave the Taliban a chance to regroup and actually re-emerge as a potent fighting force by 2006. And since then, successive presidents have struggled with the problem of the Taliban.
Which version of the Taliban do you think we'll see ruling Afghanistan?
Well, that's a good question. I'm personally skeptical that this fundamentalist terror group who don't tolerate or brook defiance will necessarily change dramatically. But I think one of the challenges facing the Taliban is, yes, they have now won the long, more than 2 decade struggle now to control and take over Afghanistan, and they have prevailed, not least because the Afghan government, although generously supported, collapsed. They now have the challenge of running or ruling an Afghanistan which is very different from the one that they left in 2001. Women have now play a much greater role in Afghan society. They did, at least to the point with the Afghan, before the Taliban took over, much greater access to girls in education now in the intervening 2 decades. That's occurred. And there have, although they've been flawed, there've been democratic elections. The 2 last elections were probably fraudulent, but you have got the idea that there should be a peaceful transfer of power in that society, planted in that society. So there's lots of changes there that won't be easy to reverse. And the Taliban said they're going to largely accept them. But, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, isn't it? And there are grounds to be skeptical, because as well as those statements from the Taliban, and let's be quite clear, the Taliban at the moment wants to consolidate power and probably is saying anything to help that process. The crucial thing was the test will come, excuse me, when the Taliban effectively have full control of the country, a process which will be, I think, by about the end of this month or early next month, when the evacuations of foreign citizens and diplomats are completed. And also those those Afghan nationals that have been associated with the international presence are also being airlifted. So we will soon know, but I'm skeptical whether the Taliban will fundamentally change its position. There are some disquieting signs, despite the rhetoric, that they haven't changed. And it's going to be an interesting situation to watch.
New Zealand had troops there for years. What does all of this mean for New Zealand?
Well, this is an interesting thing. Quite a few commentators, Bruce, have said it was one of our longest running deployments. We dispatched, immediately after 9/11, we dispatched an SAS unit to the capital, Kabul. We also, by 2003, launched a contingent of 140 troops to assist with peace and peaceful reconstruction in the province of Baniyam, in the middle of the country. Both operations, both deployments were successful. There were one or two controversies. New Zealand was accused of handing over caught Taliban fighters to, and also Al-Qaeda operatives, accused of handing them over to the US. And the reason there was accusation arose because there was a suspicion that the US was not treating, not extending the Geneva Convention to some of these, what they called armed combatants. So there was a bit of controversy there, but overall, it was quite a successful 20-year commitment from our part. Some people are now saying, well, it was all for nothing. But I think that's a misreading of the situation, if I may say so. We didn't go into Afghanistan to do America's bidding. We went into Afghanistan because we recognized, rather Helen Clark, the Prime Minister of the day in September 2001, recognized that 9/11 was a threat to the international rules-based order which this country depends on. And another reason why we weren't simply doing America's bidding and that we had independent national interests for going was that we did not follow Australia and the UK into Iraq when the Bush administration decided to invade that country. So in a sense, one of the challenges we face now as a country is that the United States counterterrorism policy in Afghanistan has not really worked. There have been pocket success of the international presence in Afghanistan. I think New Zealand can be quite satisfied with its contribution. But I think what the whole events, the fall of Kabul in the last week show that it now falls to smaller states and middle powers, I think, to look past the United States. I think what we've witnessed is a relative decline of the United States' capacity to uphold the international rule of law in places like Afghanistan and elsewhere. And what we do, I think what these countries have to do now, New Zealand and like-minded democracies, we have to take more responsibility internationally to try to safeguard the international rules-based order, which the majority of countries depend on. I don't think we can rely on the United States in the way that perhaps we tended to believe we could in the past.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Catch us next time on Global Insight. Noho ora mai.
Global Insight can also be viewed online at odt.co.nz. And after the break on the South Today, the NZTA has triggered an avalanche to help maintain safety on the Milford Road, and we have a look at your weather. See you after the break.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Hi, it's Lindsay here from Alex Campbell Menswear. We have a massive manufacturer's clearance plus. There's liquidated stock from our suppliers. For example, we have cotton casual trousers from 1990, dress trousers from 1990, merino zip pullovers, fashion shirts, warm winter shirts, jackets. There's a great deal on overcoats, blazers and suits. Come and check out our jeans. We're known for our jean selection.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Come in and see the massive manufacturer's clearance at Alex Campbell Menswear.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Thanks for staying with us. The Milford Road has reopened after work to clear 2 days of snow and control an avalanche. State Highway 94 in Southland had been shut since Monday due to heavy rain and snow and the increasing risk of an avalanche. In a statement, the NZTA says COVID Alert Level 4 restrictions are in effect, making it essential to maintain access to Milford Sound via State Highway 94. Contractors triggered an avalanche to ensure the road's safety, keeping the Milford community connected in case of emergency and to ensure supplies. For some school pupils, a teacher-only day might seem like an opportunity to stay home and relax. But a number of pupils in the Wanaka region chose to use the day to volunteer in the local community.
Just because Mount Aspiring College in Wanaka had a teacher-only day on Monday didn't mean that all the pupils got to slack off. Instead, a number chose to volunteer in the community, such as this group who helped out at the Te Kakano nursery, collecting and sorting out Pittosporum seeds.
These are Pittosporum tenuifolium, otherwise known as kohihi. And the pitto plant is really good in this environment. They're so hardy. They hedge up really well. People use them in their gardens quite a bit.
The nursery specialises in propagating native plants that grow locally to create seedlings suitable for restoring native habitats. Organisers of the Volunteer Day say it was about giving the pupils a positive experience and help them realise the impact they can have within their communities. In Wanaka, the South Today.
Time now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's Otago Day Times. We're joined by the editor, Mr. Barry Stewart. Kia ora, Barry.
Hello, Daryl. Some positive news today from on the COVID front, but we have asked some experts as to their predictions as to where the South Island will be tomorrow when the announcement is made. So details of that in your paper tomorrow. Te Reo name is a possibility for the Otago Museum. They are discussing that. And it could have been every parent's nightmare, or worst nightmare, but a search and rescue operation today for a missing toddler from Brighton had a happy ending. So that was much relief and a good story. Air New Zealand has been allowed an extension to get people out of the resort, so out of Queenstown, and also lockdown has caused a mass exodus of people from West Coast accommodation. So a similar trend there. And COVID-19 pandemic, of course, has introduced a new type of buyer, a shopper, and that's called the panic buyer. But we checked out the Foodstuffs distribution centre in Dunedin, and you can all relax. There is plenty of food to go around. So that's reassuring for some. So don't panic. We also have a comprehensive look at a variety of things in our sports lift out today, focusing largely on our Paralympians who are off to Tokyo.
Excellent. Wishing them all well.
Indeed. Thanks, Daryl.
Thanks, Barry. All that and more in tomorrow's ODT. Time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the situation, a cold southwesterly airstream is due to ease tomorrow with the weather becoming fine and the wind decreasing. bringing the potential of widespread frosts tomorrow night. Looking at the southern region, decreasing southwesterlies and becoming fine across this area, the Catlins aims for 9, while Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore should all reach 10 degrees. Over in central Otago, expect light southerlies and clear skies for most areas over here, with 11 degrees in Wanaka and Queenstown, 12 in Alexandra, and while Te Anau can expect decreasing southwesterlies and 10 degrees. Heading up to the northern towns, it's looking reasonably pleasant on the coast with decreasing westerlies and high cloud. Timaru aims for 11 and it should reach 10 in Oamaru, while inland light southerlies and skies clearing bring 12 degrees for Twizel and 11 in Omarama. And in Dunedin, showers and gusty southwesterlies this evening with an overnight low of 5 degrees. Expect showers at first tomorrow morning, but clearing skies remain mostly cloudy through the day. A high of 9 and a low of 2. It'll be milder on Friday with sunny periods and high cloud. Expect it to be a little milder even more on Saturday with light northerly winds developing, a high of 13 and a low of 6. And in Invercargill, showers clearing tonight with an overnight low of 4. It'll be mostly cloudy tomorrow morning with sunny periods developing during the afternoon. You're looking at a high of 9 and a nippy low of 0. It'll be mostly fine and sunny on Saturday, milder with moderate northerly winds developing, a high of 14 and a low of 7. And that's all from the South Today team for this Thursday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. And please like and subscribe our social media channels while you're there. Stay tuned for today's COVID-19 announcement from the government. Stay safe, be kind. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
I can now report from the whole genome sequence analysis that our current positive cases are a close match to a recent returnee from Sydney who arrived on a managed red zone flight on August 7th, had a day 1 test on the 8th, returning a positive result on the 9th. They were transferred from the Crown Plaza to the Jet Park quarantine facility that same day. This person subsequently became unwell and was moved to Middlemore Hospital on the 16th of August. What this information tells us is that our cases are most likely to have come from the traveller. This is a significant development. It means now we can be fairly certain how and when the virus entered the country, and that based on timelines, there are minimal, possibly only 1 or maybe 2 missing links between this returnee and cases in our current outbreak. And the period in which cases were in the community is relatively short. There is still a chance that additional information could emerge to change this conclusion, so we do need to remain open to other possibilities. That means you will see our public health unit continue to be very cautious around possible places of interest, and you will have seen that in some of those locations of interest to date. However, the balance of evidence now gives us enough confidence to focus our search for that missing link. Our primary lines of investigation are staff at the Crown Plaza Managed Isolation Facility where the returnee was originally based, staff at the Jet Park Quarantine Facility, and other MIQ and border staff involved in their arrival and transport from the airport and between managed isolation facilities. Middlemore Hospital is not a line of investigation at this stage, as the individual was only moved there on the 16th, one day before lockdown and days after symptom onset in a number of our other cases. So while today you will see we continue to find cases downstream, there could be relatively few cases upstream, as in people who picked up the virus from the very beginning of the chain. That's simply because it wasn't here for long, we believe, before it was found. On that note, can I thank again our first positive case that was identified on Tuesday. If it wasn't for you getting tested when you did, this could be a much, much more difficult situation. Having said that, I know we're all prepared for cases to get worse before they get better. That is always the pattern in these outbreaks. But today we believe we have uncovered the piece of the puzzle we were looking for, and that means our ability to circle the virus, lock it down, and stamp it out generally has greatly improved.
So today I can report there are 11 new positive cases of COVID-19 in the community. That is since yesterday's 1 p.m. update, taking our total number of community cases all in Auckland to 21. All of these cases here in the community are being transferred safely to the Auckland Quarantine Facility or are already there under the usual strict infection prevention and control procedures. Now, these new community cases are not unexpected, as the Prime Minister said, and we would expect the number of cases to continue to grow, in particular because of the large number of locations of interest and the mobility of these cases over the few days before the lockdown started. Now, 2 of our community cases were taken to North Shore Hospital overnight. One had worsening symptoms from their COVID, and the other is symptomatic and has underlying conditions. One of these people is in their 20s, the other is in their 40s. Both are in a stable condition.
As signalled yesterday, a phased approach to reopening vaccination sites with the Level 4 protocols in place has now begun. This enables everyone to stay safe while we vaccinate. So please, if you have a booking and you have not had any other communication from your provider, please still go, because we're expecting you. Primary care facilities have also resumed carrying out COVID-19 vaccinations today, and with some less urgent appointments being cancelled as a result of Level 4, many now have extra capacity. Our plan is to use that extra capacity to continue with those who are already booked in, but to also bring through essential workers. Our plans to vaccinate these workers starts with those who are customer-facing, who interact with the public as part of their essential work. For example, supermarket workers who may not have been eligible because of their age bans to date. We're working with employers of these essential workforces to identify the individuals, and workers you can expect to hear from your employer with extra details. Cabinet has agreed to make the Pfizer vaccine available for 12 to 15-year-olds. This is not a decision we have taken lightly. Many of us are parents ourselves and take this duty of making decisions about other people's children extremely seriously. But it is safe, and it's the right thing to do. So 12 to 15-year-olds can become eligible and book, along with everyone else that we are opening up to from the 1st of September. We know, though, that a number of these children's parents will already be eligible to book their vaccines. We want to be practical about this. So from tomorrow morning, parents and caregivers who are eligible for their vaccines will also be able to book their 12 to 15-year-olds at the same time. But if you've already booked, then just bring them along. Please just make sure that while you do that, you work hard to keep physical distancing up from others. There are an estimated 265,000 people in the 12 to 15-year-old age bracket, so this is an important next step. And please be assured again, we have more than enough Pfizer vaccines for everyone, including the 12 to 15-year-old age group. Lastly, I know everyone outside Auckland and the Coromandel in particular is anxiously awaiting news on how long their Level 4 conditions will remain in place. Ministers will meet tomorrow morning and will share a decision taken at tomorrow's update. What I'd like to leave with you with today, though, is some optimism, but also a strong serving of caution, as you'd expect. News that we believe we've identified how this Delta variant entered New Zealand should not be underestimated. It means that alongside the what, we now believe we have a good handle on the how and where. That said, it is well known globally that Delta is tougher than previous variants of COVID. So while we have further information to inform our response, we also know it is going to be a tough fight that we all need to play our part in. So please, stay at home, wear a mask if you do need to go out, practice good hygiene, stick to your bubble, and be kind to those around you. While the high numbers of people getting tested has seen some people waiting in queues, I want you to know that you are doing the right thing for yourself, your family, for your community, and for New Zealand. High compliance alongside reports of low vehicle traffic tells me that New Zealanders are following the rules that will work. And our public health units are also reporting that when they're making calls to contacts and close contacts, that there is high compliance with level 4 requirements. So thank you. Sticking together beats the virus, and together, that's exactly what we are going to do.